Are you a believer of astrology?
Of course, I enjoy it. I think I did a podcast on astrology as well that I really enjoyed. अब इंडिया में हर तरह के विचार हैं, कहते हैं भाई हम तो रैशनल हम नहीं फॉलो करेंगे, आप मत करो, हमें तो मजे आते हैं.
What makes you believe in it?
I think I was born in a family that really was into birth charts, and I was just घर पे reading material बहुत होता था. So at some point I discovered this, ये क्या है, and I asked them, and then some weird prophecy was made कि आपका बेटा महान संत बनेगा. तो मेरे को अपनी hero's journey के अंदर वो पसंद आया वो वाला part. मैंने कहा ये तो कुछ है, and I discovered it more. And my parents made me wear this ring. I was very against it. It's like, yeah, I like my hands without it. Now it's a part of me. I'm gonna get a few more rings.
Because you need them, or now just because you're fascinated by it?
I'm fascinated by it. I started reading the stories behind it. I'm more interested in every planet and I'm saying this as a complete layman, right? Who sometimes studies it. Every planet is a god in the Hindu pantheon, और हर किसी की एक बड़ी fascinating कहानी है. Like Shukra is the god of trickery.
Okay.
Or Saturn is Shani, and he's got a bunch of interesting stories. He's the kingmaker. इन सब की जो कैनोनिकल स्टोरीज होती है ना, they're far more interesting than कि आपकी 26 साल की उम्र में शादी होगी, 31 साल की उम्र में आपका पैर टूटेगा, like stuff like that. I love the mythology behind them because you can understand our cultural belief systems.
Do you believe in religion?
हाँ.
In Hinduism? What religion do you follow?
मतलब मैं एक हिंदू तो हिंदुइज्म ही फॉलो करता हूँ.
But spirituality की religion, what do you believe in? मुझे लगता है एक ही हो सकता है.
I think here's what I will say. What I believe in is separate. What I practice, I would not like to say on camera.
Sure.
That's just my personal faith.
Yeah.
I believe there's this line by psychologist Carl Jung that, never pray in public.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to make a display of कि देखो मैं पूजा कर रहा हूँ या मैं नमाज पढ़ रहा हूँ या मैं किसी और उस जगह पे जा रहा हूँ. But I think that, prayer as a ritual is very powerful. It's often looked down upon. Initially, when I was 13, I was like, ये सब क्या है? आप मैट्रिक्स से बाहर निकल रहे हो तो थोड़ी बहुत रेड पिल करी होती है आपने. Like, oh, crazy. So atheism, all that jazz. But then I became a student of religion in college. I actually studied religion along with advertising on the side, and as I discovered several different religions, उन सब के texts उनमें compare करना आपस में, I started noticing very interesting patterns. Because people think your life is dictated by logic. It's actually dictated by the cultural memories of your parents, the household that you're brought up in, और उसके ऊपर एक so लोग बोलते हैं कि गणेश जी की कृपा है. It's like, so imagine like an invisible entity is kind of like helping you out, right? And हम उन चीज़ों को ज़्यादा ध्यान नहीं देते. We don't study it academically, but if you study religion academically, it just opens up a whole new world to you. So I enjoy religiosity. मुझे पसंद है. ऐसे लोग भी who there's lots of problems with it, as with this whole news I'm spiritual but not religious movement. It's like मेरे को vibes पसंद है. So what does that mean? Vibes.
I think religion is a very important stepping stone towards spirituality. I think it gives people a sense of belonging. I think it gives people faith. I think that we want to believe in something that's greater than us. And it's easier to put a name or a face to it initially to start with. And as you practice that again and again and again, for example, chanting, it's less about, let's say, what you're chanting and more about what the vibration the sound creates.
Sure.
Right? Similarly, as you talk about prayer, can you go from that to what is the level of dhyan? Because that is the ultimate, right? So I think religion is a very important stepping stone towards spirituality, and I think it does work. But I don't think that should be the end goal. I think there's just a lot more to life and to that practice than going to a temple.
To that I say, to each his own.
Yeah.
Because it's vastly subjective. I know friends who are very happy pursuing absolutely nothing beyond being a good person. That seems to work for them. Then I have friends who 108 chants करते हैं या फिर और जो appropriate levels of times of namaz पढ़ना होता है वो पढ़ते हैं. That works for them. Like I said, faith or religiosity is very private. You can't make blanket statements about it because you run the risk of confusing a lot of people. But I do notice now, intellectually, there's a lot of renaissance around Hinduism. They use the word Indic now, everything relating to India and our culture. And you see a lot of very conventional Oxford scholar types going back to temples, which is very interesting.
Yeah,
It wasn't a phenomenon, say, 10, 15 years ago.
I've read a few of the Hindu scriptures and I actually find them to be very progressive. I feel like if somebody actually studied them in depth, their understanding of it would be very different from the derived perception of it that we have today. Let's say जो सालों से चली आ रही है, जिसको हम प्रथा बोलते हैं, जिसको हम रीत बोलते हैं, जिसको हम practice बोलते हैं. Actually, Hinduism as a religion is quite progressive. And so many of the practices that were invented were, let's say, for the benefit of society, of for women, for children, whatever. Of course, the interpretation of that has, I think, failed us a little in some ways. But actually, में अगर आप उपनिषद पढ़ो या भगवद गीता पढ़ो या सारी किताबें पढ़ो, वेद पढ़ो, तो वो बहुत ही एक प्रोग्रेसिव रिलीजन मुझे ऐसे लगता है. I have not read the others, so I can't speak for the others because I've only read about Hinduism. I can say that I think it's a progressive religion. I'm sure the others are as good
Yeah, for
as
Hinduism.
well. Yes.